Hi there. My name's Karli Vold, and I'm the Chief Client Officer here at Net at Work.
And my name is Chris Smith. I run our Sage Intacct Practice at Net at Work. So glad to be here with you, Karli.
I'm excited to be here with you as well, Chris, talking about our new client value, Client Champion.
Yes, yes. This is if there were any, and by the way, I've got them all always behind me every day. And as a values-based organization, Karli, I think Client Champion, we put it as number one, and it should always be. But I can't think of a more fun topic today to discuss with you than Client Champion.
All the things that get me excited and get me up in the morning. This is
Yes.
definitely number one on my list. So I would love to talk a little bit about how do you define being a client champion on your team?
Yeah. So one of the fun things when you think about values based organizations is it can easily get kind of lost in, it's just, client champion. What does that mean? And one of the things that I love in here and I love inside of Net at Work and inside of our Sage Intact practices, when you think about what a client champion is, it's somebody who goes and understands the client, the market. Like there's a curiosity, there's obsession with always learning about what's going on, always listening and figuring out like what are the things that are holding our clients back from delivering on their mission, their purpose. And again, these are things that can sometimes feel a little bit squishy, their mission and purpose, but organizations, most organizations are looking at somebody cares something deeply about what they're doing. And they run into all the same challenges that we run into as companies, which is how do we further our dollars to achieve this amazing endpoint we want to get to? And you can't do that generically. You've got to you have to have people who really care and they close the aperture onto the clients and they really understand what those things are so that they can provide really good solutions. So when I think about client champions and what we're doing, we're learning how to dial in the aperture better and more clear than anybody else so we can really understand what we're solving for our clients to further their dollars, to buy back strategic capacity to go and do these things. So sorry, I might be a little long-winded on this, Karli, but it's something that's really exciting.
I can feel your passion for it. And when I think about it, and I think you shared in your description as well, it's sort of a relentless pursuit of success on behalf of our clients to help them achieve the goals that that they need as an organization. And when they win, we win as well. So it's that joint
Yeah.
success we define.
Yeah. And I sometimes I even take it down a little bit further, which not from that definition, but like just from what I was saying too, which is if you were just to use a litmus test of common sense, like, am I delivering real value when I'm talking to a client or to a prospect? Am I really showing up with something that's going to support what they're doing? And so I do have this thought of real value versus just value. And when you ask yourself that, am I really driving real value here? It does start teasing up different things to really get you dialed in on what is real value for this client. And so that's another area that I think for us internally, inside of our practice, it's a challenge question that we're always looking at. Can you really show up with substance and real value that's differentiated?
Above and beyond with how you're delivering that for all of our Intact clients, I think when we start looking at our verticalization and the strategy that we're using to better help different parts of the market and different
Hmm.
industries, I think that becomes even more applicable.
Yes.
How are you and the team thinking about it from that capacity?
Yeah. And so we We believe, kind of going back into I always love to think about, your ability to adjust that aperture into the right window so that you're really solving the right things that have differentiated value. That part is really important. But behind that, to do it, okay, so it's like, oh, that's great, Chris. Yes, okay, your aperture's cute and you're solving it. But what's behind that? And this is where I think one of the key things is you have to have people that love continuous learning. You're always pouring in new sets of information because you really can't differentiate if you're just stuck in the past and you go, all of my past experiences are what predict what we'll do in the future. You've got to be pouring in new information. So there is an enablement side inside of our organization that we really believe in, which is how do we make sure that we're always raising the bar for our people and professionally that they're satisfied and they get addicted to that learning model. There's another part too, and this is a quote that I love, which is you can't give what you don't have. So if we're not pouring in knowledge and into our team, into ourselves, how can we give that value to the clients? You can't do it. So I think enablement, learning, that curiosity side is really, really important to being able to deliver on that value.
And we get feedback from our clients often. Customer satisfaction scores are very high. Our NPS score, which is a measure of how our clients refer Net Work out to their clients, is also incredibly high. How do you
Yeah.
think it feels to work with a company who defines client champion as their number one value? What does it feel like
Yeah.
from a client perspective?
I think, for any organization, and when you finally get into the mix where you feel like the company has something exciting. And so again, I'll go back to and saying one of the things I love and why I joined Net at Work is we're a values driven organization. And I'm not oversimplifying that, but when you are that, you have this simplicity of boundaries that you can make decisions. It's very easy to go client champions number one. That means at the end of the day, when we have to make decisions on where do we spend time and where do we not, client champion's always at the top. So then when you're with an organization that actually, and not that actually, I'm sorry, but we've been around since 1996. We're resourced well so that we can do these things. We can fund the right level of enablement and resources in here. And that's where I think, from a company perspective, it's really exciting is that these things that matter to us, we can deliver and we can invest in them. And again, you can't be a client champion to the level that you want until you're able to really bring your people along, your technology, your processes. And we're at a place right now where, this is really beneficial for us to keep furthering our mission of client champion.
I think about 30 years of success at Net at Work. The only reason that we can have that type of success is because of the incredible clients that we've had over the last 3 decades. And
Exactly.
the focus of how we identify their needs, ensure that we have solutions that deliver their expectations to help them hit their goals. That really is the foundation of how we've grown. And when we look at the different practices that we have within the business, we have, the most consultants, the most clients, the happiest clients, and the most engaged resources that are really ensuring that we're delivering along every part
Yeah.
of a client journey.
And it's going to get better. It is like we're getting, and I say this in a fun way, but because we care so much in this area, a- and we're in this place where we have a desire to keep doing this as great as we can. It's just an exciting time for us in here.
I think the investment in the continuous improvement, that even though we get great feedback all of the time, it's what could we have done better and different, and how can we make sure that every single interaction with our clients is enjoyable, is fun, is valuable, and that,
Yeah,
that they're seeing the worth that they get with the investment that they have in the technology and the
yeah,
services that we provide.
agree.
So, what do you think the biggest habits or behaviors are that make the largest impact for our clients?
Okay, I believe that you got to have clarity where you have to know where you're going. You've got to have a north star. And when you look at, like, for us, we have a North Star and we know client champion is one of those really important pieces. But when you break that down, it means internally we'll get the most success and we'll deliver on our mission when internally we're aligned on what that means. And so the way that we run our organization and how we ladder goals back up inside of our planning process, I think that part is really important because again, arrows need to be all aligned in the same direction. And when they're pointed in different ways and everybody's trying to solve for their own version of client champion and what to do, it means people process technology can be out of sequence, out of timing. And so I think the planning part of that is really important. Get everybody pointed in the same place. Underneath that, then I think, it's the how much autonomy can you give people because they now have clarity. And when you let people with clarity have the decision making and there, you have the confidence that we're all pointed back. That is where I think some of the most impactful outcomes happen. And then you already heard me talk about, I think people are at resourceful people who can learn, or the spirit, the engine behind this that makes it really, really take off.
So much of it to me, Chris, is about building teams that help create trust and keep trust within
Yes.
our client base, so that whether our client's been working with us maybe in a Sage 100 or a Sage 300 capacity, when they're ready to make those changes within their system and Intact looks like it's the right fit for them, knowing that we're the right organization to be able to help them evaluate how to use the system, how to configure the system, what features and functionality is best um, uh, capitalized in their
Yeah.
configuration. All of those things become really important. Um, the foundation, though, is all about trust and the relationships that we've built, and knowing that when you're working with Network, that they're going to get the
Yeah.
full picture upfront. That we say what we're going to do and we deliver what we promise. And I think that's one of the things that we do better than anyone else in the market.
Yes. Yes. Let's unpack that one for a second. So, if you're in a senior level role and you're making a decision inside of your company to swap out major technology, or to, upgrade to something that is going to be more aligned with where your business is at today, that is a scary decision. It's scary. Like, a lot of people they get into it, and you think about the trust inside of there, and it's more than just a transaction and a process that hey, let's go in and put this new thing in. So when we look at the relationship side of the client and really understanding what is it that you're looking to achieve. And so in in practice, it would be really understanding what is Carly, if you were my prospect or you were my client, I would want to know, what are those strategic priorities? What's really important for you? Let's see if this maps into your strategic priorities right now. And if it does, great, let's keep it going. If it's not in there right now, we will also, come to that same agreement. Like, this just doesn't seem like it fits inside of your priorities right now. Let's regroup at a different time. And when you have that kind of trust, that you're not just having a company try and push something there to drive revenue, or to, clock another win on their end, and you get that type of relationship going, it's game changing. And, that's what we strive to do inside of our relationships.
I think I'd argue you are doing it very successfully. Again, when you look at our client feedback, our implementations are delivered on time,
Yeah.
on budget. Our clients are happy afterward, and many of them continue to use our strategic support um, going forward. And
Yeah.
so we have this longevity of clients that are come join us and stay with us and tell their
Yeah.
friends.
Yes. And one last thing too, on that part is, I think there's 2 lenses that we can get trapped in. So if, like, I'm a buyer of technology, so, I may, in this world, we help advise organizations on, their financials and accounting. But in my role, in roles for previous companies, I've been a buyer. So I completely understand the buying mindset of, technology to really empower your organization. But there's 2 lenses that we can get trapped in. And one of those is, you look at technology as a cost, and
Mhm.
you don't know how to defend that cost up into, your board or into other decision makers. And there's another lens, which is, and this is the one that we all feel great when we get into, is this is a strategic tool to help further our mission. And what we look for is, how do we help you tell that story? Because if you look at technology as a cost, game over for any of us. Like, that's just not that, you would never buy something just to buy it, and you have it as expense item. And so when you can partner with organizations that help you really see, and, like, with clarity, show that this is part of your strategic tool set, that's another place where you get excited. It turns light bulb moments on for you. You make better decisions. And, so that's another place too, where when you're looking at what does a successful relationship look like that builds trust, I think that's a key part of that.
Mhm. And it's not about what Net at Work wants, it's about what our clients need and
Yes.
meeting them at the place that they are in their company journey, whether they are starting to expand into new locations and have upcoming growth planned, or maybe they're at a point that they recognize that the complexity of their business or the technology that they're using isn't working the same as it used to,
Yeah.
right? Technology changes at a very rapid pace. Being able to be there for them at the place that they're at and ensuring that we can deliver the solutions that they need at that time that match their budget and
Yes.
goals is critically important.
Agree.
So, as we have been working to align around providing these incredible client experiences, what changes have you made within your practice to better serve our clients?
Yeah, so when you kind of I'm gonna talk about when you look at the planning, right? And by the way, I'm a hands kind of person visual. So I apologize if I'm throwing people all over the place trying to watch me. But I think a big picture, the outcome, again, what's the strategy underneath? How do we go and execute what we're going to do? But then there's an alignment inside of the organization. There's a business operating rhythm and cadence in which when communication is flowing well and clarity because you're really setting clear targets, that whole what I think of is like the pulse of the business and how everything's staying aligned. That part's really important. So one of the things that we continue looking at is you don't want to have a lot of meetings. You want to have great meetings.
Mhm,
And you want to have
mhm.
great meetings at the right time that free up a lot of other space. And they're always then pumping in more clarity, more energy, more direction. And that's an area where when I think of how have we set up the practice to make sure we're tuning people into the right business rhythms, that is really important. But it all starts back at your strategy. You can't get your business rhythms right until you get clear on the North Star of where you're going. But as you do that and you bring in and you look at, what kind of weekly pulse meetings do we need to have with the team? What are the topics? How do we make sure if there's any changes, those are coming back in? How do you make sure it's pushing all the way through? And so that's an area where I think our strategy we are always looking at how do we get more clarity? How do we get more clarity? We've got great operating rhythms set up so that we're pumping out information across the right core teams and then the broader business unit. Those are really, really important things for anyone who is looking at how do you bring this stuff to life and get it out of just the higher level, like, oh, we've got this great strategy here. Execution is all about business rhythms.
I think one more area that I've seen improvements within your practice are along the client journey and what the experience is like for our clients working with our teams. And I've heard in other organizations where we have people or clients that have worked with a sales organization who get to know them so well. They know exactly what we needed. They know the solution. And then as soon as that deal, that contract is signed, it's hand over to an implementation team who it seems like they're starting over from
Yeah.
scratch. And so keeping that continuity between working with a sales organization to then the implementation team and the consultants who are actually helping with the setup and configuration. And once that configuration and project goes live, the same type of handover working with an excellent support team, making sure that the
Yeah.
support team understands why were we configured this way, who are the users that we have in interacting with the system, what do we need to do longer term to ensure that we're continuing to support you, and then your needs evolve over time. In the
Yes.
next year, in the next 2 years, how do we as an organization stay close and engaged with you as a company, as a client of ours, to make sure that we're continuing to align what we have as solutions in the market
Yeah.
to meet your needs. So it feels
It's
like
a
those
really
touch points become important.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And, when I think of our strategy, one of the areas, again, starting up here of what we want to do, part of our strategy is then rallying around the prospect to client experience and the
Uh,
ongoing relationship.
mhm.
And one of the things that, we are it always evolves, right? So we never get there. We never get to the pinnacle of, the ultimate client experience because you have to be the market changes, needs change, so you just got to always be on your toes. And one of the areas where, we continue to challenge what we do and challenge what the market does is sometimes we think about the client experience, not us, but just in general, like companies think about the client experience as a this kind of okay, one step happens, then it moves on to the next. And it's in this very linear view. And I know, Carly, we've really challenged where is there more of a dynamic view where multiple things need to happen and kind of swarming the ball for the best client experience and operating with speed. And, speed and timing in solving problems is really important. So in a linear view, the world gets solved, but I don't know, it could take 3 years to solve it. We're looking at how do we squish all that, compress all that value into the shortest amount of time. So if something were to take 6 months, how do we get it in 2 weeks? And when you build and design the client experience to operate with solving with speed, you really, you really start changing and innovating inside of people, process, technology, and how do we deliver the fastest time to value? And so anyways, those are things that I'm so glad you brought that point up because that is an area where we have a lot of fun. When we think about areas of like for us as leaders in the business, that's a high investment area for us. And it's something that it's where companies get to design their magic experience and secret sauce of how do we deliver with value, and experiential value is so important. So thanks for bringing that one back up, Carly.
I think in addition to the speed, there's also an element of clarity and bringing our clients along the journey with us so that working with us isn't just it's like working with a black box. So they
Yeah.
understand what we're doing, when we're doing, how we're doing it. They get to have input along the way. We're advising them of what best practices are, what we're seeing with other clients, what we're seeing in the industries. And there's so much that we bring them in the along in the journey, but don't
Yes.
require them to participate any more than they want to. So it isn't something that's a massive lift for them. We take all of that on within our team. So the speed, the clarity, and we want it to be fun to work with us, right? We want our clients to
Yes.
love us. We want to make sure that it's enjoyable. And that's one of the reasons I think that we do have so many of our clients that come from referrals and word of mouth, working with other organizations and colleagues that have worked with Net at Work before.
Definitely.
Any specific client feedback that you've heard recently, that proves that what we're doing is working, that
Yeah.
how you and the team are operating really is making a big difference for them in their current and then future plans?
Yeah. I think the key things that we continue to internally celebrate, like yes, we know we're doing the right thing, is we get feedback that we're partners. And that's what we want. We want to be a partner. We don't want to come in and tell you what to do. We want to be a partner. That means we're listening. Listening. I can't think of anything more important than, even if we're professionals and experts in this level, for us to shut up and listen. Shut up and listen. And really, and when you do that, your partnership goes to another level. So that's one. The fact that we deliver on time on our projects and we do what we say and we commit, that is really key. When you're in the space of a company helping you with this, you can feel like you're losing control of something very important. So business continuity is really important. And when we hit our project deliverables on time and we do it at a high rate, those are, probably two of the most important things that I hear and, get feedback on. And then, the other side I think is you made a comment about this earlier, but people enjoy working with the team. These are really tough things that are being worked on, and you think about change management that goes inside the organization. You gotta love getting in with a group that you feel, has your energy and your spirit and understands your business. And I think if we're bragging, I love the people on our team. We have really great people.
Think they bring that to the table for sure.
Yeah.
I think with everything that's going on with a political and economic climate, that our clients and prospective clients are feeling a lot more pressure to cost cut and to find savings in different parts of how they're operating their business. And I've noticed it as we're having more conversations about implementations and
Uh-huh.
with different vendors and market coming in and offering very discounted implementations and when sometimes that does seem appealing from a sticker price, looking at an overall project, what we're finding is the projects themselves are oftentimes not being delivered as promised from other organizations.
Uh-huh.
So they're coming back around to us to one, re-implement technology that was maybe not implemented well to begin with, or two, that the project that was quoted at a very low rate is actually taking 3 or 4 times as much
Yeah.
as was originally quoted. So you're trying to cost cut and trying to save money, and in the end, by going with a discount provider, a discount
Yeah.
vendor, in fact, it's costing you not only the actual dollar amount of the expanded scope and project size, but also the
Yeah.
headache and the reputational risk and the
Yeah.
disruption within the business of a project that wasn't handled well and again delivered on time to meet expectations.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's an area that not only are we very competitive in how we're pricing our overall solutions, but the trust that our clients can have of the percentage of our projects that are delivered on time, on budget, is
Yeah.
so incredibly high that it has helped eliminate some of that fear
Yeah.
for our prospective clients and clients to know that Net at Work will absolutely do what we're promising, and you're going to be very happy with the results.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's a really good point. I mean, all of us in our daily lives, and I think I'm going to get this right, but we have the options of cheap, fast, and good. And I've always heard you can get 2 out of 3, but you can never get all three. And this is one of those key areas where most most businesses can't afford to do cheap because then they lose the good element and they lose the fast element. And when you think about speed of getting to your value and you think about having the high quality, like for something as important as your financials and your accounting, you just you can't risk that part of it. But you also every time we're buying, we can't help but think about dollars, right? Like it's hard to look at something and go, "Oh my gosh, this is a cost here and this is another cost here." And the quick value that we can, trap ourselves in is just doing, "Oh my gosh, this one is X amount cheaper than the other one." But when you put into the reality of ROI, buying back strategic capacity that allows you to elevate the team who's been doing all these manual things to now unlock this next level of value. When you think about, am I saving $20,000 here? It's penny wise, pound foolish because it's 20,000 here that has hundreds of thousands of dollars of return that's being missed out on. But it's hard. It's hard. And this is where it goes back into when you have a partner who will help you unlock the value of the strategy. Why is this a strategic tool? They'll help you with ROI. They'll help you understand where all of those other benefits are so you don't go down and feel the pressure of making price when you're explaining to your board or to, your other executive teams and you don't have the story to line up with it. And so all people can do is point back to value, right? Oh, well, why would you spend more? And they're making the assumption that these things are all the same thing. So it's a really good point, but this is a where I would say anybody inside of that moment, if you're feeling the price pressure, it means you probably don't know enough about the strategic, really like the strategic impact, and you need to explore that part more.
Agreed. Agreed. Thank you for that. Um, I know we spoke a little bit about how we are aligning our own teams to deliver a great client experience, um, leveraging our new value client champion to make sure that our clients are at the front and center of every decision that we make. We talked about how it is impacting and changing how we're evolving our client journey and the different touch points that our clients have. What we haven't spoke about yet is how the overall Net at Work solutions enable us to be able to provide additional technology and services along the wider use cases for our clients. So, tax and compliance technology, bringing in employee experience and HR solutions, CRM. So, in addition to getting your accounting software and your ERP set up, being able to leverage this holistic organization to provide all of your
Yeah,
technology needs from end to end is really a true differentiator for us at Net at Work. How is your team and how are you approaching that
yeah,
with clients, knowing how it truly does make Net at Work such an incredible partner for our
yeah.
clients for their entire organization.
Yeah. No, it's a really good point, and that's one of the exciting things about where we're at with Net at Work in our growth journey is ideally when you're working on very important things inside if you're not Net at Work, but you're a client or a prospect or just a company, you don't wanna keep running into ceilings with the technology that you have, okay? So, like, when you're let's say you buy accounting software, and then you're like, "Oh my gosh," like, when we're looking at our tech stack, we want to be able to see how can we leverage CRM data and accounting data and our strategic data and our reports. And you start looking at when you're building all of those in isolation across, over time, you now have 15 relationships you have to manage. Oh, this partner over here does our CRM, this partner over here, and it's really exhausting. It's really hard. How does a functioning team look at a document to say, "Oh, when I have this problem, go here, call this number, do this email with this SLA, and this is the time frame they come back." When you bring it into, our world and what we believe is of value is when we're integrating tech stacks, not just at the functional level, but we're looking at it at across their entire company as they're phasing in and wanting to do that, we have the ability to look at accounting, financials, payroll, HR, CRM, BI. Like these are all things that we can do really well. And you work with one provider. So I think it goes back into just imagine your let's go outside the company world and just into personal um, thoughts for a moment in our daily lives. If you have to call 15 companies in a day, or you can call one, or you can work with, and it's not even just phone calls. You can chat with the company or you can email. Nobody wants 15. Nobody wants 15. So it's a really good point, and we have strategically built our business to make sure that we can evolve and solve that. And I just think it's really important. Do you want 15 customers? I mean, 15 companies that you're working with, or do you want one? And that's just another element. Now, what we're doing inside of our practice is, it doesn't mean you buy all of the technology at once. That's probably the worst thing that you can do. So we look at it's always about solving the important what's the most immediate things we need to solve for because an organization cannot handle that much change.
Mhm.
It's not good. So we are very conscientious of what can the organization handle, what's most important, and then we can, it's choose your own path. Sometimes it may be their HR solution. And sometimes it may be their CRM. Other times it'll be their accounting, financials. And I think that's the power of Net at Work.
Well, Chris, I can't thank you enough for today. I enjoyed our discussion immensely, and I look forward to many more in the future. So, thank you.
Yes. Carly, I've enjoyed the time as well. And this topic could not be more exciting to talk about. So thank you for taking time to chat about this.